Welcome to my channel. This is part 1 in a 5-part series on drafting a pattern for an 1810s muslin dress based on an extant garment in the V&A Collection. In this tutorial, we will use the 3D pen avatar tool to drape the bodice. Let's get started. All right, the first thing we're going to do is download the project file available on my Patreon, and then you're going to go to File, Open, Project. You're going to find that file and then go ahead and click Open. In this project file, you're going to see that I have a custom avatar, and then I also have a reference image here. Go ahead, and if it's, annoying for you, it's just frozen over here, you can go ahead and Shift Q, and that will just hide it in the 3D window, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm going to go ahead and just turn on my ground grid just because it makes it a little bit easier for me to see. Okay, before we begin draping, I want to make the waistband, and because the waistband is actually going to sit right under the bust, we need to give ourselves a little bit of an anchoring point. Waistbands don't like to stay put in clothes, so we're going to help it out by creating a avatar measurement and then attaching it to it. So I'm going to go to the basic circumference measure avatar tool right here in the 3D toolbar. And then I'm going to go ahead and hold Shift just to lock my cursor to the center line. And right on this under bust line, or maybe slightly below it, I'm going to click once, and that's going to set my first balance point. And then I'm going to hold Shift, which will lock my cursor going around the avatar in a perfectly balanced line. I'm just going to click twice. That'll be the second balance line. And then again, holding Shift and locking it to the parallel line around the avatar, I'm just going to click a third time, and that will create my measurement. It should be somewhere around 30 inches. It's okay if it's a little bit less than that. Now we can go ahead and draft the waistband. Let's grab the rectangle tool or the S hotkey that's right here in the 2D toolbar. Let me just go ahead and collapse out of these two windows to make my screen a little bit bigger, but that's right here, the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to click anywhere in the 2D window, and for width, I'm going to type in 15 inches, and then height is going to be 1 inch. I went ahead and labeled these A, B, C, D just for ease of following along with the written guide available on my Patreon. Now we're just going to unfold this using the Edit Pattern tool or the Z hotkey right here in the 2D window. So right-click line BD, and then choose Unfold Symmetric Editing with Sewing, and that should just unfold that right there. And we want to go ahead now and sew the center back. This will be the center front. So let's go to the Segment Sewing tool or the N hotkey, and that's right here in the 2D toolbar. Just click line AC near A, and then click the other side, also near the top. You'll know if it's twisted if it looks like this. So just go ahead and click near A on both sides, and it should be straight. All right, let's go ahead and put this on our avatar. If I go to the Select Move tool, that's the Q hotkey, and right here in the 3D toolbar, I can click the waistband in the 3D window, and I can use Shift F on my keyboard to show arrangement points. And all I have to do is hover over this arrangement point right here, and it'll put it in place. Now, before I go to the next step, I like to go ahead and simulate, so press space to simulate, just to kind of get it sewn together. I have found I have less issues if I just simulate it first before attaching it to the avatar measurement. No idea why. Okay, so now that it's on, you can see, yeah, there's no way this waistband is going to stay on the underbust where we want it. So to make it, we're going to use the Attach to Measure tool, Avatar. So that's right here. I have to click and hold on Edit Measure, and then I have the option for Attach to Measure Avatar. So go ahead and select that. And now we have to do one side of the waistband at a time. So clicking at the top of the waistband, then clicking on the measurement. That's one time. And this is a really finicky tool. So I sometimes have to go back and forth a couple times. So let's try that there. No, let's try the measurement first. Oh, that was the bottom, but it worked. Okay, let's try it one more time. No. Try in the back. Okay, now it worked. I know it worked because both lines are red. Again, I don't know why this tool doesn't work better. Maybe you guys do. And if so, go ahead and leave a note in the comments on how to make my life easier. And I'm really annoyed because that kind of twisted. So hopefully you don't have as much trouble as I do, or as I'm having right now. But again, not a great tool, but when it works, it's very helpful. There we go. Finally got it. And I'm just using the select move tool to kind of make sure that that center back seam is at the center back. All right, after all that, we finally got our waistband in place and we can begin draping. So I'm going to go to the 3D pen avatar tool, and that is right here in the 3D toolbar. And the ghost of my waistband is still here, and I'm actually going to use that as a reference point to start draping. So if I hold shift on my keyboard, you will see once again it's locking my cursor to the center line. I'm just going to go ahead and near the bottom here where that waistband is, I'm going to click once, and then I'm still holding shift to continue locking this cursor to the middle because we're working on the center front right now. So I'm going to go up until that measurement says around 5 inches. Don't worry about getting it perfect. And then once it does, go ahead and click again. And then you get to work on a third point, and we're going to put that about here. And this time I'm actually going to double click in the same spot, and that will end the line. So we should have a center front line of 5 inches and then another additional line of 1 inch. And that's where we'll start. We're going to go ahead and do something similar in the back. So holding shift to lock my cursor to the center point, click once right above that waistband. We're going to go up this time 6 inches, so that's a little bit higher in the back, and then an additional inch. That time we're double clicking. So that's what we should have so far. And now we can go ahead and connect these along the bottom to form the waistline line on the bodice. So I'm just going to click this first point on the center front. In the written guide, I call this point A. And then kind of working my way around. If I am working on a Mac, I'm going to hold Command, and if I'm working on a PC, I'm going to hold Control. And just every so often, while holding that key, Command or Control, just click around the waistband, and that's going to help create this curve that's going around the body. And then once you reach the back, go ahead and click this last point, and it'll end the line. In the written guide, I call that point D. All right, now we can begin drawing the neckband lines. So going back to the front, I'm calling this point C right here at the very top. Go ahead and click that point. And then again, holding shift, go ahead and draw your cursor across her upper chest until it says 5 inches ish. Okay, and then again for another inch there. And again, that second one, we're just going to double click. And now going to this point right here, I'm calling it point B. Just go ahead and click once. And this time we're just going to, draw one line. And it's going to be a total of 6 inches across. So let's see, 6. How about that? And we're going to double click, and that's going to be the end of that line. We're going to do something very similar, if not the exact same in the back. So on this top point here, calling that point F, just click once, hold shift to lock your cursor, and after about 5 inches, click, and then another 1 inch double click, and then again underneath. So click, and then hold shift to lock, and then after 6 inches, double click. Okay, so that is going to be the reference or draped lines for the top band that the rest of the bodice gets sewn into. Now we can go ahead and draft or tape out the strap lines. So this point right here, I'm calling point G. Go ahead and click that point. Hold shift, and that's now going to lock your cursor going up and around the shoulder, if that's the direction that you start heading. And again, if you're on a PC, Control, or a Mac, Command, hold that key and then click to give yourself a few guidelines for going over the top of the shoulder. And at the end, you're going to end right here. That is point J. Okay. And now that's the inside of the strap, and we're going to do the outside or the arm's eye of the strap now. So I actually am going to start here on point I, going to point H, and if I just click those two lines, it'll make a complete line in between. And then starting at H, I'm going to do that same thing where I'm holding Shift and holding Control or Command, going around, ending here. That's point K. Clicking point K, going to point L, and then now going around under the arm, clicking point L. And you can hold Shift, but look, I think it's doing something like real weird and wonky. So I'm actually going to just use my eyes to figure out how low I want this arm side to be. And I have an additional reference in the written guide as well. All right, so this looks pretty good now. And, you know, I don't love the way that this is shaped, but I think I'm going to leave it as is and then fix it a little bit later because it does have more of the measurements I'm looking for. And if that really bothers you, of course, you can move these points around and experiment yourself. But this is just how, these are just the measurements I'm giving in this guide to give you like a more consistent experience with following this tutorial. All right, the last two lines we need are the side seam, and I've been putting this one cheating a little bit towards the front. I'm just going to click on this line here, and I can hold Shift to create that kind of straight line all the way down to the waistline. That looks pretty good. And then in the back, right around here, I'm going to go ahead and click, and then holding Control or Command to give myself a curve point, maybe around there, and kind of want this back piece to be pretty narrow, so I think I'm going to click around here to kind of finish that off. So I don't really have good advice for where to put these, but if you are draping your own projects, this is the time when I recommend looking at your research to figure out what these pattern shapes are in order to figure out where to put these lines. Now, the funny thing about draping in CLO is that it doesn't necessarily know which lines that you want to keep straight for when it unwraps. So we have to tell CLO those things. So in order to tell CLO which lines we want to be straight, we need to go to the Edit 3D Pen Avatar tool. And then go ahead and Shift click to select all the lines you want to be straight. And I'm giving you kind of a guide here on which ones to select. So definitely the center front and center back, and then all of the pieces that create these kind of band pieces, I want those to be straight. I've done it before where I make the side seam straight, and I've done it where I don't. It's up to you. You can always straighten it out later. Let's go ahead and try it this time and see what happens. And that's about it. Of course, I will want these lines down here to be straight, but because they currently have curve points in them, they're not going to unwrap straight. Same true with the strap. We do want that to be a straight piece, but because of how it's draped right now, we're going to have to fix it later, unfortunately. So with all of those lines selected, go ahead and right-click your selection and then choose Flattening as Straight Line. And then the lines will turn bold, and you will know that they are going to be straight when you unwrap this pattern. All right, and in order to unwrap the pattern, we're actually going to go to the Flatten tool, and I get to that tool by clicking and holding the 3D Pen Avatar tool and then going to Flatten. And with this tool selected, you can go ahead and Control or Command A to select all. You will see that if this is done properly, all of the pieces are yellow, and if some of them aren't, it's because there is a hole in your pattern somewhere, and you're gonna have to figure out where that is, and or just restart. Happy to help if that's something that you're having problems with, but I find that whenever I don't either start a line on a point or on a line, things like this happen, or things, it doesn't entirely make my pattern, but mine looks pretty good here. So I'm going to go ahead, when they're selected and all yellow, just press Enter on the keyboard. All right, and then they just manifest themselves in space, and it's entirely up to CLO3D's, system to figure out what they look like. And yeah, we're gonna have to do some organization here. Thankfully, the things that I wanted to be straight are, but we still have some work to do. So the first thing I'm going to do here now is go to the transform pattern tool, or the A hotkey, and that is right here in the 2D toolbar. And I'm just going to go ahead and rotate my patterns like my back for some reason. I actually have no idea what direction this is going. I'm going to have to click on my back to figure out what's happening here. So that's the top. So I have to rotate this kind of 90 degrees. But it looks like the center back is trued up and down, so that's good. Let's see. This piece right here, I'm actually not going to rotate because I do want the center front to be straight up and down, but I also, according to my research, I want this bottom line to be on the straight of grain. So I think I'm going to leave it as is, and then I'm going to just alter it later. This one is interesting. I think I'm going to make this one, you have two options. One, you can make it so that the side seam is parallel, or like is kind of like on the same grain as the piece that it's sewn to. Or the other option is to make it so that these bottom 2 points are loosely lined up too, which is also what my research says. So I'm like, this point right here and this point should be on the same plane. So I've done it both ways. I've made this project a couple times in order to test it for you all, and I haven't decided which I like better. So this time I'm going to do it like this, but you'll see in my written guide that I've actually lined it up a different way. But I think let's try it like this. I'm feeling good about it. Okay, so we have to figure out which pieces these are. This is the strap piece. This one looks like it's upside down, so I'm going to rotate that. If I hold shift while I rotate, it will lock it to move it in 45-degree increments, which is quite handy. And this piece, that'll go right there, and then we'll just put the strap right there. Okay, so once you've loosely got these all on grain, the way that you want them to be, we're going to duplicate them with symmetric sewing. So I'm just going to drag, or I can also shift click all these pieces, and then on your keyboard, go ahead and hit Control or Command D, and that will duplicate with symmetric editing and sewing. Okay, I went ahead and labeled all of these points, and it might look a little confusing. You can ignore them if you want, but if it's helpful, these are the same points that are labeled in the written guide. And we're going to go ahead now and sew the center fronts and center backs. So with the segment sewing tool, or the N hotkey, I'm just going to click here, line DE on the back, that side, that side, F or EF there, EF there. And in the front, BA, BA, BC, BC. All right, so then everything should be sewn together. We can actually press space if we want to see what's happening, and it doesn't look too bad, actually. Mine looks fine. I hope yours also looks fine. If not, don't worry, we'll keep working through it, and I'll give some tips on how to make it look better. We're going to want to sew this, of course, to the waistband, but before we do, let's go ahead and do some truing over here. First in the 2D window. So using the edit pattern tool, or the Z hotkey, I want to actually make, first of all, I want this strap to be straight, and I could not figure out a way to do it in just draping it. So we're going to do it manually by like pulling line J over to match up with point G, and then point K, just pulling that. You know, I'm locking it to the x-axis, and I just kind of want to pull it so it's in line with point H. And of course, it's still a curved line, but we'll actually fix that later. I just want to kind of pull that, line that up. Okay, so I think those are lined up now. I'm going to go ahead and move those point names over. I also want to true up whatever's going on here. So I would like for currently, I would like for these lines to be trued. They won't be trued later, but yeah, go ahead, and I want this band to kind of be a perfect square. So just manually moving things over until that is the case. And yeah, I'm kind of using this line to make sure that this line is trued. Let's go ahead and move point A over to, you may have different problems with yours, but the goal right now is really just to kind of get everything trued up. I kind of want these points to be true to in a straight line because again, that's what my reference said. I'm going to worry about truing these two side seams later. I'm going to pull this down. There we go. What's going on over here? So yeah, because my reference has these pretty much in it looking like boxes, I'm just going to go ahead and do that right now because if I was draping this on a form, that's what I would have done. You have a little bit more control in real life than you do in CLO, I will say, for sure. Okay, so I feel good about how everything is trued. And now I want to go ahead and delete all of the unnecessary curves. So again, with the edit pattern tool, I'm just going to click, these strap lines that are curved that I don't want. I don't think I want the bottoms of any of these to be curved. And what else? If you didn't straighten your side seam, if you didn't unwrap it as a straight line, you will need to do that now, but I did, so I don't need to. I think that's all of the unnecessary curves in my life. So I'm going to right click that selection and then choose delete all curve points. Okay, so now nice straight lines. Love that. Okay, that's actually looking really nice in the back there. And one more thing is the lines that you do want curved, you kind of want to just optimize those so that they have nice, pretty curves. So that's like this curve, and your arm's eye curves. Go ahead and right click them and then choose optimize curve points, and it'll kind of give you a good selection. It suggests pretty well what it should be, and you can just click OK there, and that really smoothed that line out. You can do these all at once by shift clicking, but I think, oops, that was delete all curve points, undo. But I think it works better if you do it one line at a time. Optimize, okay, optimize curve points, okay, and then I think this is the last one. Optimize curve points, great. All right, so when you rotated your patterns, when they first were unwrapped, it didn't actually rotate their grain lines. And so as long as you like, the direction all of these are facing, you can go ahead and do that now. So we're going to use the edit texture tool or the T hotkey, and that's right here in the 2D toolbar. Just click that tool and you can see, yeah, most of them are straight up and down. But these, yeah, like it's not in all of them. So to fix that, we're going to do Control or Command A to select all. Then just right click anything in the selection and then choose Align Grain Y-axis, and that will shift them all to be on grain up and down oriented to the 2D workspace. All right, now let's go ahead and sew this bodice to the waistband. So to do that, I'm going to use the M to N sewing tool, which is right here in the 2D toolbar. I have to click and hold on free sewing and then choose M to N free sewing. And let's start at on the waistband. If you click point A and then you click point B, that will be one side of the sewing. So you have to press enter to say, okay, that's one side. And now we can go to the bodice, and starting in the center back, we're going to click point D, click point P, and then P here, and here, and here, and then end all the way at A here. And then that side, you can go ahead and click enter. So One thing I noticed is that we might need to true this up later, because that point, it wanted to end here, and still I think our bodice is bigger than our waistband. So we actually, we're gonna true that up right now, along with anything else that needs to be trued. So to check that, we're going to go to the this little tool right here. And yeah, now is our time to edit everything that is red and make it not red anymore. So starting up here, I like the width of my straps, so I'm going to keep those the same. And then I'm just going to go ahead and grab the Z hotkey, and let's see, can I make that still? I'm going to go ahead and pull this over, holding shift. Let's try that again. So here I want to do the same, go to the Z and pull this over. Just checking that. Still need to be less. Okay, that's good. This is a dilemma. I'm gonna have to fix this either by shortening the bodice here. It's only a little bit, so let's just pull that up by just that much. And I grabbed the whole line just to keep that squared. Okay, that should be fine. And then this one, I'm actually going to change using that edit sewing tool. And right here, I'm just going to move this here. And then the very last one is going to be the front of the bodice. And I am totes chill with leaving that. You know what? I actually think, looking at this, we might need to make this top part not be sagging. Do you see how like lovely and it's laying in the back? Oh, it looks so good. But in the front, there's this gaping. So I actually might just go ahead and right now change both of these. That's 8.4. Yeah, that's quite significant. I'm going to need to grab both of these lines and drag them over. 8.5, and then what I think it's gonna make that lay nicer overall anyway. Okay, yes, that's much nicer. Do you see how there's no gaping here? And you guys, due to the nature of this project, like you're going to have to make all of these choices yourself, and I can't really make a cut and dry way to do any of this. So just learn from my example, and if you need help with fitting, I have other tutorials on fitting as well. And ask your friends, and you're also welcome to ask me in the comments or via my Patreon. All right, we're almost done here. And what we need to do now is we're going to add all of those beautiful gathers that we love from our reference into the front of the bodice. Of course, I don't want to add them all the way across the top here. I want them to maybe start around here. So I'm going to use the Add Point Split Line tool. That's the X hotkey, and that's right here in the 2D toolbar. And I'm just going to right-click this line here, line AN, near N, and I'm just going to type in 2 inches. You can really put this point wherever you want to, especially since your side seam is going to be in a different place than mine is. But whatever makes sense. We just don't want all the gathers to go around along the bottom there. Go ahead and click OK. And now we're going to drag point or line AB over using the edit pattern tool or the Z hotkey. I'm actually just preemptively going to move all these pieces over and these ones as well. So go over here. And I'm going to click and drag line AB on the front with the edit pattern tool, and making sure those guidelines are locked in. I can use shift to make sure that is the case. And then I'm just going to right click and type in 9. It's a little bit of an arbitrary number, but it's going to give on this avatar the amount of gathers that we really want to see in the bodice to make this pattern come to life. So go ahead and click OK. And you can go ahead and simulate, and it looks pretty chonky because one, the particle distance is so low, but honestly with gathers, it's really hard to get it low enough that it looks good without like slowing your computer down significantly. So one trick that we can use, and we're going to use this in this tutorial, is going to make it look really good and exactly the way we want it to look in real life, is we're going to go to the property editor, just open that up, and then you can see there's this option called shirring. I'm going to go ahead and with the edit pattern tool, select this top part and then this bottom part. So that's IB and, I'm calling this point down here 1, so 1A. So go ahead and shift click both of those lines, and then you're going to, in the property editor, turn on shirring. And for the height, I'm just going to make it 3 inches, which is, I think, the longest it will do. And it'll just make it so that that entire bodice has a higher poly count and will allow that shirring to, or those gathers to show up. So when I click simulate, you can see there they are. And you might want to look at the reference, like maybe 2 inches wasn't far enough over, or maybe it was, or maybe I just need to do some more editing over here, but I think this is a really great place to start. In the description, I link to the garment that this is based off of, and you're welcome to use that and the edit pattern tool to move any other points around as necessary to get that look. And once you do, you're done with this tutorial, this section of the tutorial, and you'll be ready for part 2, which is going to be linked in the description. All right, I'll see you then. Great work, everyone.